Welcome back, students, as we prepare for another episode of DC Graduates. I am one of your teachers, your doctor recommended dose of dirtiness, aka your nerd today, Carlos Rodriguez. And as always, I am joined by my teacher in crime, Sly. Sly, how are you?
I'm excellent. We're here to talk about a movie that is a movie and how we feel about it.
An emotional
That's
roller
the
coaster.
show.
Yep. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about the emotional roller coaster that is 2015's Batman versus Robin. It's directed by Jay Olivier, right? We did this last episode. I really got to get it down
We
because this
did
motherfucker.
Next episode.
Yeah.
Wait.
For context, yes, this is recording wise, it's been flipped, but it's coming out in the right order. Also, this motherfucker has directed like how many of these movies? I still haven't gotten the name right.
Right.
I'm so sorry. It was written by J.M. Demetis. Studios, as always, is WB Animation. Stars Stuart Allen, Troy Baker, Kevin Conroy, Trevor Duvall, Robin Downs, Greg Griffin, Sean Mayer, David McCallum in his final role as Alfred, unfortunately. Jason O'Mara, which is so funny that we mentioned him at the very end of this movie. Jeremy Sisto, Andrea Romano, Weird Al Yankovic in one of the very few roles that he does serious. And then you have here a update. Apparently, I didn't include Young Bruce, but unfortunately, I have not seen Lock and Key. My apologies.
Well, I did list every single cast member on the IMDb page because they're all important. They're all relevant.
There's so many, and yeah, it really counts in this movie.
Everybody
also,
but
watch
Young
Lock and
Bruce.
Key.
Apologies.
Watch Lock and Key.
I
it's
know,
so good.
I should.
Or read the book. The book is way better. I found myself enjoying
I'll read the book.
Yeah, they're like I want to say 8, maybe 10 volumes in the comic book series. And then there's one cool crossover, not written, very important to distinguish, is not written by Neil Gaiman. Does crossover with his Sandman universe.
Okay.
So
interesting.
If you want to deal with the universe, but without the problematic person that he is, there you go. Where is it streaming? Who fucking knows? Not on Max. So fuck you, David Zaslav, as we always like to say.
It is on my 18 DVD collection.
Yes, it is. Unfortunately, I had to sail the 7 scenes and find this movie, but I found it. And it's again not even on Tubi. We mentioned this next week's episode. Not on Tubi, not on anything. What the fuck? Just put it on something. Just something. And
like anything.
Yeah, this movie definitely deserves to be on something too because it's pretty decent. So I know I for preference, I've only watched this movie this one time. I did enjoy it. But what's your host history with this?
I think I've seen it maybe twice before. I'm not a big rewatcher, so a lot of these movies I've only seen the once. But I think around 2017, 2018, like early college, I revisited it because I've been saying this for years. I really want them to do like a DC AMU Court of Owls story, and I stand by the fact that this is not a Court of Owls story, and we can get into it. But I watched it when I was doing my full like deep dive into like I'm gonna be the biggest DC fan I can be, and then I rewatched it again in college. So pretty familiar. But there were definitely some things that I had like completely forgotten about. So like I definitely didn't come in with like a perfect memory of this film, but yeah, pretty familiar with this one specifically.
Yeah. All right. So, here's with that plot recap.
All right. So this time we had 2 plot recaps listed. We had the like one that was obviously like production copy or whatever, and then I had somebody who did like what was basically like 9th grade English assignment of how to summarize a quote where they rewritten the same exact sentence with the same exact thoughts, but slightly different wording.
Uh,
And that's what I'm reading, I believe. Damian Wayne is having a hard time coping with his father's no killing rule. Meanwhile, Gotham is going through trouble with threats, such as the insane Toymaker and the secretive Court of Owls.
yeah, that definitely feels like so. Let's just move these words around, and there you go. We got it.
Let's
It's
grab synonyms. It's fine.
yeah. All right. Who are the comic book
All right.
characters this round?
We've got, you wrote these out, so they're all like proper names and not
Yeah, they're not the
nicknames.
funny names. Yeah.
Batman, Robin, Alfred, Nightwing, Talon, the Court of Owls, Dollmaker, Thomas and Martha Wayne.
Yeah. Dollmaker threw me off because they said shot, and I was like, wait, Toymaker? And then I was like, forgot the original
Yeah.
history behind Dollmaker until I
So
read it.
yeah, I wrote down in my notes Toymaker, and then I realized I meant Toy Man. But apparently it was Shotzi Jr., who is doll maker. So it's
Yes.
like half right.
Yeah. So that was interesting. And then I was thinking, this is really quick, not part of Roundup or anything. And I did
Mhm.
mention it in the cast. Again, one of the very rare times Weird Al has played a serious role, and
Mm.
he is very scary in the short time that he's in. He has such an incredible fun voice for this specifically. He does a lot of DC stuff. You because
Mhm.
he's a huge nerd, like many of us. Actually, if you watch any of his like music videos, he's perfect. He's a great musician, great
If you
comedian.
couldn't tell from the everything about him, he's a
Hmm.
huge nerd.
Exactly. But he does such a really creepy good job in this for the very short
Mhm.
time. It's like, damn, Weird Al, I kind of want you to do more. Can you do more? Like, I'd be down
Yeah,
for more
he has a
villain
great
roles.
voice.
Yeah. Because you always hear the whiny kind of like his normal voice that he does. And then
Mhm.
it doesn't sound like him. Like, I looked into
Yeah.
IMDb, I was like, wait, what the fuck? Who is he? Oh, no, no fucking way. Threw me off.
Mhm. And
Uh,
like most of my associations with Windshot is obviously Supergirl. So
same.
it's,
Yes.
Jeremy fucking Jordan.
Yeah. Fucking voice of an angel. God damn it. Newsy's
Yeah.
own Jeremy fucking Jordan.
Oh my god, not to go on a complete tangent. But did you see that a bunch of the Newsies cast got together to surprise Cara Lindsay? She's doing like
No.
a residency or whatever at I think like the Florida Disney park. She's doing like a run of shows or whatever.
Really?
And like uh uh uh, what's his name? Tommy Bracco? Whatever. Anyways, him and a bunch of the guys got together and as a surprise to her, like mid-show interrupted the show to do a little like newsies bit, and it was incredible. She had no idea. She was like, "What the fuck is going on?" It was
That's
brilliant.
awesome, dude. That's so cool. God. What a fucking I love the original movie back in the this is gonna be our one of our many tangents with Christian Bale. And then I also
You love
love
92sies?
oh yeah, love it. Love it. I grew up with
It's
that shit.
great.
So I was like,
Yeah.
oh yeah,
I
what the
didn't
fuck?
watch it until like college, but
Yeah.
it's incredible.
Yeah, it really is. And it is crazy to see. Oh, you know, it is relevant because we're talking about Christian Bale. And shot to Jeremy Jordan. This actually works.
Yeah.
Thank you, DC Universe. Batman sings in the Newsies,
Mhm.
and it's just so weird to see Christian Bale like as a kid actor. And you're like, what the
Uh-huh.
fuck? And
Yeah.
like you're about to lose a shitload of weight in a couple years for no reason and then gain it all back and almost kill yourself to play Batman. Like, but okay. You're fucking
Jesus
method, dude. You're
Christ.
nuts. I love you. You're a nut job. You're
Yeah.
gonna yell at
Mhm.
grips for no reason for walking in your shot. No goddamn reason whatsoever. Hey, you'll own up to it. Like, yeah, no, I suck. And we're like, fucking love you, Christian
You
Bale.
know
Like,
what? I respect that. If you know you're a piece of shit, awful human being, and you're like, correct,
yeah.
like, I can't fault you for that.
N-
Like,
No, that's like Colin Farrell now. Like, he was like, yeah, Remember when I used to drink all the time? Wow, that sucked. That was horrible. I was a bad alcoholic. I'm like, yeah, you were. Yeah, you were.
Yeah. All right.
All right, moving on. We're gonna touch upon the Andrea Romano roundup as we shout out always our voice director queen herself, Andrea Romano. We're gonna start here. The Owl is watching. Let's discuss how amazing the Court of Owls are because, as you mentioned,
Uh-huh.
this is a Court of Owls movies, but not really. They're like a means to an
But
end.
not really. Yeah. And so when I think of the Court of Owls, that story, that run is so grounded in a genre that if you try to put that story in any other genre, it doesn't work. And you can adapt it into other mediums and to other types of media, and I think it can be successful. But this is a superhero movie trying to be a superhero movie. And if you're telling a Court of Owls story, you have to embrace that superhero isn't a genre, it's a trope of
Mhm.
media. And you could tell superhero stories in any genre you want. And I need a Court of Owls story to call it that, to be a gritty mystery. You can even really lean into the gothic elements. Like there it has to be suspenseful, tense, are like kind of a thriller. Are we grappling with what is reality, what's not? Like there's so many interesting themes and dynamics to play in this kind of story where like there's a secret society that is controlling the city, and how far does their reach go, and what is real and what is fake, and who are people, are they who they say they are? And like there's so many really interesting elements, really compelling narratives within this universe, and every time I think about this movie detached from it, I'm like, oh yeah, I like that because I like Court of Owls. And every time I rewatch it, I go, right, this isn't a Court of Owls story. It really isn't. It's a superhero story where the Court of Owls happens to be like the big bad. And I
Mhm.
think that's an important distinction because they are really cool. And not to mention the 2024 Gotham Knights
There we
series.
go.
But they have a really good take on Court of Owls and the kind of like mystery thriller aspect of it, where it is really suspenseful. It is so tense, and they're playing with these ideas of like what is power and who controls what, and what does it mean to build a city. And I don't know, I really love this concept, and I really enjoyed this movie, but I don't think they fulfilled the story they were trying to adapt, and I don't think they did it justice in any meaningful way.
No, yeah, there's this. I do love that storyline as well, and I was such a big fan of the storyline. I purchased the physical edition of Volume One of Snyder and Capullo's Batman run, which is that's what this is the Court of Owls storyline,
Mhm,
and it comes with it's a plastic one, so it's not great material. I ended up giving it to my
mhm.
wife's cousin Andrew, because I gave him the book, he loved it. I'm like, dude, you can keep it, like it's that good. I'm cool with departing with it. Also, you can keep the mask because I know you're gonna love this. He's like, and by the end of it, he's like, yo, for real, I can keep the mask. I'm like, yeah, dude. But it's plastic, it's flimsy.
Yeah,
I want something a little more like hardy, I feel like. I'm
right.
sure Etsy or our good friend Frank with his 3D printer can make one that's amazing. But they are a means to an end in this story
Mhm.
when it comes to their impact in the story. They are just like a means to make Batman and Robin be at odds.
Yeah.
Um when and then they do a little homages to Capullo and Snyder's run where you have that maze scene, but it doesn't feel as impactful as when you were reading it. When you're reading those
Mhm.
issues and you see the systematic breakdown of Batman as a character, it legitimizes this new villain in such an incredible way. It's the most impactful beginning to any comic book series in my mind, in my point of view, that I've ever witnessed. Because I've never been on the edge of my seat like the in that first run where Batman's caught off guard completely and utterly to a point
Mhm.
he's never been. Like, to be like, "Hey, I'm Batman. I know everything in the world. I fought fucking aliens. I fought Darkseid. I've done all this crazy shit. There's no such thing as a court of owls, and like, motherfucker, we've been here forever." And like, that's
Yeah, for
how
decades,
yeah, and
like,
like,
we
that's
built
so
the city.
impressive, to show
Mhm.
that sense of like he thinks he knows what Gotham is. He doesn't. He
Right.
still to this day doesn't know what Gotham is. What's he really fighting for? And it feels like reading that series, especially, it does ramp up to a superhero aspect, and you get the reveals of who's running the Court of Owls and his ties to, you know, the Wayne family and Lincoln March and everything like that, and those reveals. But initially when it starts, it does feel like you are watching a Batman if he was in the world of the movie Seven, or vice versa. If like
Mhm.
the world of Seven was played out in the Batman universe, like that's what it feels like. That thriller aspect, the Brad Pitt, Morgan Freeman movie Seven with Kevin Spacey, who's actually a piece of shit in real life. Surprise, but it does feel like that tense thriller aspect. Batman's constantly questioning what's going on. It gets to a point where he's questioning so much that he punches Dick in the face. But that is such a
Mhm.
clue, and that was one of the cool things when they were trying to make everything in the New 52 be so connected to every other level. Like, every page had to be connected to another story that you were watching. Snyder, Capullo, and the Batman team did a really good job of connecting those universes. Some of the other ones didn't really do so well. Like, once it got to, like, Titans, like, they really weren't impacting what was going on, at the same time. But
Mhm.
Nightwing happening at the same time and him kind of figuring out what was Haley's circus, what were the Flying Graysons, what was his true destiny supposed to be, and there's a tease here because of course they don't touch upon this storyline, but Talon has a line where he's like, "Hey, you would have been a really good Talon," because in the
Mhm.
comics, Grayson was supposed to be the next in line to be a Talon, but because of Tony Zuko, fucking Batman picked him up and he never got to be a Talon. He got away from the Court of Owls. And it's really interesting, and Batman is constantly pushed against the brink, and that whole psychological drug sequence maze thing is the the movie does a good job for the movie's sake. It does not do the book justice at all when you read that scene.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, and I know you talked about Gotham Knights. I know they also touched upon it in Gotham, the Fox TV series,
Mhm.
and they did a pretty good job there too, as well. We haven't outside of the comics. I think we've mentioned this recently. We haven't gotten like a great proper Court of Owls story. Like, we've got close.
Mhm.
It is rough when it's a Mizu end in this because I love the concept of the Court of Owls. The fact that they just are there and Batman never knew about them, who's the smartest man in the room at any given time. And he's such an asshole about it. So it's like it's cool to have something thrown in his face like this as the Court of
Mhm.
Owls. And so he's truly afraid of. Like, they show it in this movie.
Yeah.
Like, he's
Because
afraid of
they're
the concept of
fucking
it.
terrifying.
Yeah. Yeah. And
The
that's
horrifying
one of the cool
idea.
things.
Mhm. I do wanna talk about the, Talon Dick Grayson
Mm,
aspect
mhm.
because at least in what I've engaged with in canon, that's not really something that is a prominent idea or ever really like dove into, but it is a very popular trope in fan fiction where the Dick Grayson as a Talon tag currently has uh sorry, how many 2,594 works under it.
Same.
And there's some very popular stories and some really interesting ideas of like what does it mean to be a Talon and what does it mean for Dick Grayson? and how can we explore this idea of this character being a talon or being a former talon? Like, what does it mean to like try to recover from all the undergoings it takes to develop into a talent? And I think that's such a fascinating thing to play with, especially with the like offhanded line, the one liner in
Mm-hmm.
this where they like allude to the fact that like Dick Grayson could have ended up as a Talon and the implications of that. And again, there's some really interesting fanfics that like dive into that idea. And I think it's such an interesting idea. And I guess I don't know if you've heard of any stories that kind of explore that as an alternate universe or anything,
Yeah, no,
but
I mean
it's
it's main
something I'd love
canon.
to see.
Yeah, main canon. Looking it up right now because I forgot specifically what. This is also amazing because I put uh all I put in Google was Dick Grayson Talon, and the first one was kind of they showed some photos from from the story arcs and stuff like that. There is Earth 3 counterpart. You know how we have Owlman, he's Talon.
Hmm.
So Dick Grayson's Talon in that universe. I was like, oh, so it was previously established, like that was the thing. And the third link, second was like Reddit thing from like 3 years ago, and the third one is AO3. And the fourth one is AO3. I was like, oh shit. And then we have some stuff from like CBR, which talks about like it's volume 2 of
Hmm.
Nightwing, where they established that someone's like the main quote in CBR is Dick Grayson's eugenics I can't believe we're still talking about this 2 weeks in a row. Eugenics storyline is still a thing. And it's basically, yeah, his parents did love each other, but it is his canon. He was basically bred to be a Talon, but
Shit.
they happened to pass, and Bruce got him
Hmm.
before the court got him. So that's also kind of he's like, there's some things that I don't like, like the fact that they take away from a lot of his who he is, like, oh, you're always destined to be this. You were always, something
Hmm.
about that doesn't scream like a great storyline. There are certain things that make sense when we're like, oh, why do you think you were part of the circus act? Well, they were training you to be, Haley Circus has always been this thing where it like you find talents and things like that. So yeah, this is main canon. He should have been a Talon. He just got away from them,
Hmm.
and Bruce turned him in. He happened to be Nightwing. So he's his own man now. But I think alternate universes touch upon this too. Like, I think the Dark Universe shows him as Talon and or something like that, full Talon costume. He's like all, resurrected esque. That's another thing they didn't really touch upon. They just make them zombies. They don't touch upon the fact
Hmm.
that they do have a mind of their own. Like there's that
Right.
one Talon from the 1816s that's like old Western style. He's got
Hmm.
like guns and shit. And he's just that good. We don't really touch upon that. They're just basically mindless zombies to kind of pad out the time. They pun intended, they clipped the wings of the quarter owls, in
Yeah, they
this.
really did. And the Talon itself as a character is so fascinating to have this ancient warrior that
Mhm,
fights for your cause and for them to be so strong as this like facade of a character, but also to have so many different styles and interpretations with like the idea of a talent is like incredibly smart, incredibly intelligent, incredibly skilled fighter that can, you know, is the hand of the secret order and can do whatever it takes
mhm.
to help them retain power and shape the city the way they want it to be shaped, and to have them again just be like mindless zombies,
Yeah.
and they like disintegrate into like goo after they're like get too cold or whatever.
Yeah,
It's just like I don't know, it's silly and it's not what I want from a storyline like this.
no, and again, to touch upon that, like there are a few that have minds of their own. They are, they don't have that. Or they may have that one day thing, but it's not. Again, they're not mindless. There are a few that have been
Mhm.
like used so much that they are mindless and they are cannon fodder at the end of the movie. At the end of the movie here kind of reflects a lot of the end of the storyline as well, with like the bat robot and all that shit. But this takes Damien to be center place and that he could be a possible talent, or for in this instance that we find out, spoilers, the talent that we currently have, he doesn't want to be the zombie thing. So he's like, I'm gonna use this little
Okay.
kid. He has no problem sacrificing Damien to be a talent and all
Right.
that stuff. He does have a problem though with like them killing him. He's like, whoa, hold on. He can be immortal. You can't kill this little kid.
Mhm.
What the fuck are you doing? And I thought that was a weird distinction, but it kind of showed a little because Talon, I they don't give him a name, but I forget the name of the character that we do get in the New 52. He does have a name,
Oh, yeah.
and he does have like a set of morals that we do
Mhm.
see. He does, he does become somewhat of like a hero, like a or anti-hero in the DC universe. So there was little shades of that, but again, it's not the same. Ideally, you watch this movie if you've never seen anything Quarter Owls related, and be like, I'm kind of
Mhm.
interested on that group. What else can I watch or
Yeah.
read?
And that's the thing is like this is a good movie. Is it a good adaptation? No.
No.
But if you're trying to tell a story in a way that will appeal to this theoretical like kid audience that you're targeting, that makes them say, I want more of the storyline, and your goal is to sell more comics, I think this movie does a really good job of selling like volume one,
Yeah.
right? Like you have just enough taste. You're like, okay, I want to know who the Court of Owls are. This is really interesting. Who's this Talon character? I want more of their story. And you like Google Court of Owls and like read the first spec or whatever. And then you might not like the movie as much, but like it got you in the door. And I think that is important and it
Mhm.
has a place. But when we're looking at the DC AMU through the lens of big DC fans, and you've done things like do the best Flashpoint Paradox adaptation we've seen and will ever see. Like, these are movies made by fans for fans. And to have an iteration where they tackle a storyline without embracing the tone or the genre or the even the aesthetics. Like this movie is so bright.
Mhm.
It's so
It
bright and
is.
like I really wanted them to just embrace the the essence of a Court of Owl story and
Mhm.
tell that.
Typically obviously the whole point of the show is we cover a lot of animated, that mainly we cover animated stuff. Every once in a while we've talked about the live action counterparts that we have. And currently we have,
Mhm,
two set universes that are continuing in the DC, movie and TV series pantheon. We have, the new DC universe headed by James Gunn. We've covered Creature Commandos for season one. That is very comic booky. We have Superman on the
mhm,
horizon that has a crypto in it, and Green Lanterns, and everything's gonna have different tones and stuff like that. I can't. Could they do a quarter of hour series or touch upon that in a Batman film? Sure. Would it work
mhm,
the same? Like, let's say, obviously, the rumors and he's denied it, James Gunn has denied it, but let's say Alan Richardson, who plays Reacher currently on Amazon Prime, let's say he's cast as Batman. We've seen Batman in Creature Commandos. He's built like a brick
mhm.
shit house, so it kind of makes sense. Does that Batman, can an Alan Richardson Batman be in a Court of Owls storyline that we've seen all these very bright colors? Totally,
Yeah.
James Gunn has mentioned every movie can be different. Everyone's gonna be like this. We know his first foray into Batman universe with Batman will be World's Finest, where we get
Mhm.
Bruce and Damian. So it's kind of similar to what we're watching now to a certain degree. Could that work? Yeah, maybe, depending on how dark those movies want to get. But when you see the other universe that we've set up with Batman, this universe
Mhm.
that we just got an incredible 8 episode series in The Penguin that has made an already compelling character even more compelling with his portrayal by Colin Farrell, and proves
Mhm.
that when, hey, you want your actor to win a Golden Globe, an Oscar, anything like that, these top awards, in your
Mhm.
field, have them play a Batman villain, because Bob Kane and Bill Finger were all of a sudden back in the 30s. These characters are
Right.
that fucking good all these years
They're
later. And
incredible.
the fact that, what's the name, has earned an Oscar, post his death, fortunately, but Heath Ledger's Joker is that good. He
Mhm.
got a fucking Oscar. Colin Farrell is that good as Penguin. He's got a Golden Globe. These characters are so well done that they win awards, right? So
Mhm.
you have this Batman who's this dark and brooding detective who his Gotham is just utterly what we think of Gotham is just so shitty, gross, and there is no comic bookness to this Gotham. This feels
Right.
like a comic book version of what Nolan was trying to do, but even Nolan's Gotham looks pretty compared to Robert Pattinson's fucking Batman's universe, right?
Right.
That universe is so ready and ripe for a Court of Owls storyline, and I
Mhm.
think they're the only universe that can execute this to a perfect degree. Like, I know a lot of people shit, "Oh my god, Riddler's just like a serial killer," and all this other stuff. It worked for the universe you set this Riddler up. Carmine Falcone being the Carmine Falcone he is in that universe is set up so perfectly for the universe you set up.
Right.
Bruce is so set up as the Bruce Wayne of this universe that he needs to be. He's so dark and brooding, and he just looks painful, to be existing.
Angsty, like
Yeah, like he needs to be that. And I know a lot of people are like, "Oh my god, Edward Cullen, like shut the fuck up. Just shut the fuck up about
listen,
that."
yeah, no, like he does such a good job of encapsulating like a fucking depressed like mid-20s Batman who like Bruce lost his parents and his life went to shit and he doesn't really want to be Batman, but like there's nothing else he's good at or can do. Like he's
Yeah.
like,
And they're
this is
doing a
all
good
I
job of
have.
making him like a redeemable Batman, right? A Batman who's not
Right,
just all about the
yeah.
mission. Like, spoilers for that movie, he almost loses Alfred, and at the end of the movie, he's holding his
Mm,
hand. He's starting to realize,
yeah.
I do have family. I do have something to fight
Mhm.
for, and I need to protect him as much as he protects me. And that Alfred, played by a jacked up Andy Serkis, makes sense as someone who would have been in the
Incredible.
Royal fucking Marines and Special Forces and
Right.
British Special Forces. Yeah, this whole universe makes sense for everything they set up. If they set up the Court of Owls in this universe, with everything I've seen in a 3-hour Robert Pattinson movie and 8 hours of television that is the Penguin,
Mhm.
yeah, this is the universe that they could do the Court of Owls justice. And that's my only hope is Matt Reeves does
Mhm.
it and they do it justice. Can James Gunn do it? Absolutely. He's very capable director. But that universe is already so bright. And even you
Right.
see, like, there's the first stills that we've seen of lanterns. I know it's a desert town.
Mhm.
I get it. It's supposed to be like True Detectives. It's going to be a dark show, shows the darkness of humanity with the lanterns as the background. Like that shot still looks bright as fuck because they're green lanterns. you know, Not-
Mhm.
when you see Pattinson as Batman, he is the dark detective, like the knight. He is
Mhm.
that guy. So that is, if we get anything that's an adaptation that's perfect, I think that is going to be the closest we might get to one if Reeves pulls the trigger on Court of Owls. It is disappointing though to see this, and they are just cannon fodder to propel the story of Batman and Robin having a disagreement. you know,
Yeah.
this could have been done by anything, anyone. You could have. I don't know, maybe brought Slade back. You never saw a body, so you know the rule. If you don't see a
Yeah, that
body,
would've been interesting, yeah.
or, spoilers for next week, have Talia come back in the picture earlier, and
Mhm,
kind of seduce Robin away little by little. I miss you, my son. Why don't you kill? Like we
mhm.
trained you to be this. Like there could have been other
Right,
ways to
that would've
do it.
been so compelling, like, she's when we look at, like, the first 8 years of his life, right? It was in this god awful situation, and she was the only one who really genuinely cared for and loved him. Like, sure, she did it in a fucked up way, and I don't think she's a good mother by any stretch of the imagination. But she was the only sort of care and love and affection that Damien would have seen during his time in the league, right? Like, his grandfather just wanted him to be the perfect soldier, the perfect heir, like,
Hmm.
to take over the fucking world, and Talia felt the same way, but also she was like, "This is my kid. This is an extension of this guy I'm fucking obsessed with."
Obsessed,
Um, and
obsessed is
yeah,
good.
she could have easily come back into the picture, had secret meetings with Damien, be like, "Why don't you use the training I taught you? Like be strong to
Hmm.
be the like heir I raised, like the son like I developed you to be." And like that would have been a huge internal conflict for Damien. All he wants is to do well and be successful and have people respect him.
Yeah,
And for his mother to come in and be like, "No, like your father's like training has ruined you, has damaged you." That would have been enough to cause the rift that we see.
yeah. And it also would have made sense when it came to, you know, Bruce being like, "Why didn't you tell me?" Because he was like, "Well, that was my
Yeah,
mom. Like, why should I tell you? That's
it's
my
my
mom,
mom.
dude. Like,
Yeah.
of course, I know I don't need to tell you everything. Like it could have been something like that. It could have been we could have got more interesting take, and then saved the court for its own standalone story. Where, oh hey, where's Damien? Well, Damien's away. Where's Nightwing? He's with the Titans. Where's this person? Like, just leave it so Batman's by himself, so he has to deal with this.
Yeah.
And then break him down mentally and show like just take the time to dedicate, because I think we see the court in a bigger light than I think unfortunately DC tends to nowadays.
Mhm.
Like post, like it's been a couple years since they got introduced, so everyone was like, "Oh, courthouse this is a cool concept. Let's just throw them in whatever." It's like let's throw them in, 2024's Gotham Knights on the CW. Let's throw them in Gotham on
Really
Fox,
fucking good.
or
Okay,
let's throw them
Carlos?
in
You should
Gotham
watch
Knights, the
it.
video game where you can't get past the beginning of that game.
God.
That's the unfortunate thing. Like, let's just do this, and it just there's so much there. It's just so cool. There are some cool things that this movie does, and I wasn't expecting the main Grandmaster to be the girl that Bruce was fucking. So we could talk about that. It makes sense.
Yeah.
Did he know?
Yeah, it does.
Like, cause he says he's
No,
like, I
I
was investigating her. So he just assumed she was doing
yeah.
some shady shit, and that's why he fucked her. And then
My thing is, I don't think Bruce as a person is ever like actively seeking out people to be in relationships with, but he won't say no, you know?
no,
Like if a
he's the
hot
honeypot.
badass, yeah, accidental honeypot, right?
Yeah.
Like the hot rich badass villainous ladies are like, this guy's pretty cool, I'll sleep with him. And then it just so happens that like that's his type, I guess.
Yeah,
But
he like gravitates
no,
towards
like
him.
he's the kind of person that like, I'm sure he was investigating some shady shit. I don't think he knew she was involved with the court at all. I don't think he knew the court besides the nursery rhyme, right?
Yeah,
Um, but I think she was like, "This is a guy we need on the court, and I'm gonna seduce him, and then he'll be more willing to join."
Yeah, it was like a double honeypot, but they neither of them
Yeah.
realized it. It's like they're both too dumb to realize that they're honeypotting each other.
Exactly.
And then here's the Talon being like, yeah, no, this is the love of my life. She's like, sure, sure.
She's like, all right, I guess.
Yeah, I feel that way too. I'm still gonna have sex with Bruce Wayne. Like I have to do this. It's part of the shtick. I
Yeah.
gotta do it. I don't know why. That was a cool reveal when they did reveal that she was in charge. Because how she talks in the
Yeah.
beginning was like, oh, when they reveal that she is villainous, I was like, oh, okay, so like your family runs the court, but you're like next in line. It was like, oh no, you are
Yeah.
in charge of
You
the court of Owls.
are. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
I thought it
Um,
was like her dad or whatever.
Same. That's what I was waiting for. I was like, oh, we're gonna usurp my dad, and I'm gonna be in charge, and you'll
Uh-huh.
be my right hand Talon. I was like, oh, cool. I like where this is going. It was like, no, I am in charge. Oh shit, we just cut out the middleman. All right.
Oh, all right. Cool. If you say so.
Yeah, I did
It
love
just
that.
makes the whole like the Talon being like I deserve a place on the court thing a little bit more interesting, that she was like, nah fam.
Yeah,
Like,
sure. Yeah, yeah.
never gonna happen.
She just kept them on red. That's what it
Yeah.
felt like.
Exactly.
Um, anything moving on before we move into drama class? Anything you want to shout out specifically?
Yeah, the one line where he was like, "A biological accident does not make you my father." I'm like, "You were not an accident.
Yeah, I
You
said the same
were
thing.
specifically like
Yep. I was
she
like, Damien, your
coerced
mom drugged
and
your dad.
collected and then created you in a fucking test tube.
Yep.
Like you were not an accident. I hate to
Hmm.
break it to you."
Yeah, you were specifically created for this.
Are you of dubious conception?
Yes.
Yes. Were you an accident?
No.
Hell no.
Both can be true. Both can be
Yeah.
true in this sense.
Um, I did have. I'm just gonna run through my notes because I
Yeah.
don't remember this movie. Uh, I was scared to rewatch it because I didn't know if it would hold up to my memories. And spoiler, like every time it doesn't. Like I always remember it more fondly than I actually feel watching
It's
it.
gonna be that then in a couple months. You're like, it was a
Yeah.
great movie. Like, it's a good movie.
Yeah. It's a good movie. Yeah, it's a good movie. It's not a good adaptation.
Mm,
That's my line, and I'm
yeah.
standing by it. Shot was really interesting.
Yeah.
I thought that was a fun moment. There was something in the beginning about Damien's honor, and I was like, you'd think it would mean more to him than it does. Don't
Yeah.
remember what the context is for that, but anybody who's watched it more recently than I will know what I was talking about. I was really mad at Bruce for not trusting his kid. He never trusts his kid.
That's
But
what
I'm
I
like,
have from jump.
seriously, dude.
From
Yeah,
jump. I was like, damn, way to jump to conclusions, Batman.
right. As he always does.
Yeah.
Fucking don't get me started on like Gonzalez or whatever fuck his name is.
That's right.
Anyways, not to make everything about Jason Todd.
Mhm.
Oh, the training sequence with Dick and Damien was incredible. No notes. That's
It
perfection.
went
I
from
think that's
training
like
to
my
like, I'm gonna
shining
beat
moment.
your ass.
Yeah. Oh, there was the flashback with a young Alfie and baby
Oh,
little Bruce Wayne. Ugh.
his little hand,
Ugh.
like Alfred's hand
So good.
trembles right before he puts it on his shoulder.
Anyways, oh, I was weirded out that the Talons speak. That doesn't feel like it should be canon. I feel like the Talons don't speak. I think they're creepier that way. Like maybe some like clicks and like weird eerie noises to communicate with each other. Sure,
They cut
fine.
their tongue off, right? And
I'm pretty sure they do.
yeah.
But this one talked and I went, ugh.
I think
That's
whoever's
it.
like the most active talent is the one who has like all his parts. It's like, but like once the frozen ones, like I think they just get their like tongue cuts.
Mm-hmm. There's a whole sequence of Alfred desperately trying to be a good grandfather to
That's
Damien, and Damien was not having it.
mm-mm.
Valid. I mean, if we look at his other grandfather, like
Yeah.
grandfather figures, not a good
Though it's
association.
very quick, and I don't know if you noticed the animation wise when he mentions
Mhm.
Damien mentioned he gets annoyed by Alfred, I think, talking shit about race. And it's a quick second, and like he says, like, oh, my grandfather would have done this. Alfred looks hurt and angry because he is his
Yeah,
grandfather. For all intents and purposes, he's
yeah,
like, he is. He's like, you're mine, dude. Like,
yeah.
don't fucking do that.
hmm and then when we got to the pods of all of the preserved talons, they
Hmm.
had the same kind of like weird green tinge. That are they like just filled with like diluted Lazarus water? Is that what they're storing them in?
It looked like it. I don't remember from the storyline what it was, but they do make mention of like it's some kind of chemical compound
hmm
that like keeps them preserved
Yeah.
until they're ready.
That's my headcanon at least. Whatever the fucking chemical mix, I'm pretty sure there was a Lazarus component in there.
Yeah.
Which I'm pretty sure canonically there is a pit in Gotham somewhere. So
Yeah. For
that
sure.
would track. Shotgun Alfie is best Alfie. Him rocking the shotgun,
Dude.
perfect. No notes. We
Dude.
got badass Alfred 2 weeks in a row, and I love that for
It's
us.
it's so amazing. And he is so stone faced when he's killing people.
hmm
It's so
Yeah,
scary.
it's the soldier
Yep.
background. And then my final note was, do we consider brainwashed immortal beings as people? 'Cause if so, the Bruce sure killed a lot of them.
I mean, technically you have to die to come back as like a full like old school talent. So I mean, technically they're dead. He does seem
Technically.
happy to like cut heads off.
Oh
He
yeah.
seems like
No,
he's
he
getting a
was
lot
having
of
the time of his life.
yeah, he's getting a lot of feelings out. You know, like he's getting a lot of it out. It feels like important to him
Work
that he
out your
needs to
feelings. Yeah.
yeah,
Murdering
screaming Joker's name probably as he's
decades
doing
old
it.
assassins. Yeah. Valid. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all my notes.
Um, let me see mine. I'm looking at mine right here. Oh my god. So right after, you know, Bruce accuses Damien of fucking killing, even though he did it. Um, what's the name? He calls Damien his ward
Yeah.
to the head of the grandmaster of the courthouse, who I don't remember her name, but he calls him his ward, and there is a slight animation that if you notice Damien's face, he's so hurt, and it's
Yeah.
like okay, it makes sense to hide what he is because his mom, again, the greatest
Mhm.
terrorist on earth
Yeah.
right now. His dad is Batman. Like, you could easily be like, why is Bruce Wayne fucking this terrorist? I was like,
hmm
unless,
Yeah.
you know,
Problematic.
yeah, there's a lot of questions here, and like everything will come undone. And there's a lot of good that Wayne does, Wayne Foundation, Wayne Tech, that it does, Wayne
Like, I
Enterprises.
get wanting to protect Damien and not have him associated with this like woman you're investigating, and like sure, whatever legal ramifications aside, but when you look at like the hierarchy of the Bat children and their relationship to Bruce, the only other one that's been consistently called a ward,
Yeah,
Dick, the one who fucking left, like, and like
exactly.
Dick didn't get adopted until like way later. Like
Yeah,
he aged out of the system. Like when we think of the emotional ramifications of using that term, Damien's instantly gonna associate it to Dick and how he was treated. And what does that mean for him when Damien's entire identity within the family, the one thing that keeps him going, that asserts his right to be there, is he is the blood heir. and
Mhm.
that matters so much to him, and
Mhm.
have it completely dismissed and ignored and just like
You can tell it's the first time they
acting
talked
like it
about
was
it. Like the
yeah,
first time
acting
he's
like it
heard it.
wasn't important. And it's devastating to him because that's his entire identity
Yeah.
thrown away and dismissed like he means nothing to Bruce.
Again, that could have been, a lot of the movie is Damien, and even at the end, coming to terms of who he is, what does it mean to be A Damien, B Damien Al Ghul, C Damien
Right.
Wayne, and then D Robin in general. So he has so many questions up
And
in the air.
like oh, I don't know how to pronounce the Arabic.
Oh yeah, God damn.
Mhm.
That's why I said Damien Al Ghul. I was like, I know he has a proper fucking name. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's what they used also, funny enough, in Kingdom Come when he was first. The idea of Damien was introduced was they used the
So,
Arabic name.
like, whatever translates to, like, son of the bat or
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
So
I can read it, I just can't pronounce it.
exactly. Um you could just see the pain in them. And that if you just focus on a lot of that, you could again, there's another way almost to write the Talon and the Court of Owls out of this movie and just focus on the crux of Robin trying to be his own man and being seduced by an outside force that is in the Court of Owls. Like it does feel weird that it's like he's seduced by the Court of Owls when you're about to set up another culpable villain in a year in Talia. Again, she's the perfect person to set this up. It doesn't even have to be anything big. The whole crux of this movie could be an end fight between Batman and Robin, and then being like they figure out their shit and Batman being like, "Hey, I went to this monastery in the Himalayas. You should go check it out." And him leaving, to figure out who he is. And
Yeah.
like you can still have the same ending, but just have Talia start trying to manipulate him ever so slightly. I'm like, all right, well, that didn't work. So you know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna just take over the world and take over about brainwashing people. And that just sets up bad blood. There's so many different things we could have done.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. Hire us. We'll
yeah,
rewrite your movies and make
exactly.
them better.
I did put I do want like a legit Court of Owls mask. I want to look at Etsy. I bet you have really good ones. Or contact
Oh,
Frank
yeah,
and
absolutely.
tell him I'll pay for
I'm sure
shipping.
you could pay Frank to do it, yeah.
Yeah. He's like, I'm doing one right now. I didn't even hear you. I was just making for shits and giggles. Um oh Talon's dad. I was like, it's crazy to work at that high of a level of a thief and be drunk all the time. Like that is a
Mhm,
superpower on its own. So kudos to that. I know he beats his kid and all, but kudos to that guy. Um uh Batman clotheslines Damien through a roof, like through a glass
mhm.
roof. That was crazy. Um I was like, oh, Batman loves bad women, huh? Legit his only weakness. Um We do get a shout
Truly.
out of showing Damien what his future could be. And he's got the infamous Batman
Mhm,
suit that he has in that issue, with the kind of long flowing coat. It's pretty cool. There was something else I wanted to specifically touch on. No, I think the emotional stuff at the end I thought was pretty cool. I do like Damien hugging his dad. Um,
yeah.
Bruce being so happy to, I mean, mind you, Talon isn't immortal, but he's like, I'm gonna do as much as I can to beat your ass. And he's smiling. He is fucking smiling as he's like, I'm gonna beat the shit out of you for fucking with my family. But I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, that was all my notes. We already talked about Alfred with the shotgun because it's just chef's
Hell
kiss.
yeah, we did.
It's beautiful. All right. Now moving on to drama class, again, a holdover for MC University, one of my favorite segments. We have two little segments here, one long one and one very short one. Um, let me see what we got here. We got Batman, Robin, and Nightwing. Okay. And then just Batman.
Yeah.
Um,
I
do you
do
what do you want to
Batman
do?
in the first one if you wanna do him in the second one.
Okay, yeah, sounds good.
Cool. I don't have a Batman voice. That's fine. You and the court tried to take control of my city and destroy my home. But worst of all, you messed with my kid. So this is gonna hurt, and I'm gonna enjoy it.
So good, man. His smile again. It's just fucking wonderful.
Unhinged.
Yeah, he's like ready. He's like, I've been waiting to fucking go ham. All right, and then this is when Damian sneaks back in after Batman gets his ass whipped by the Court of Owls. All right, so I'll be do you want me to be Batman and Nightwing and you be Robin?
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Okay. uh bu- where were you?
What happened to you? Are you okay?
You don't get to ask questions. Now where the hell were you?
Out.
Where?
Just out.
Out has suddenly become a far more dangerous place. What's this?
That's mine.
I don't think so.
What are you gonna do? Build a dungeon and lock me up in it?
Despite what you may think, I'm your father, Damien, not your jailer.
A biological accident doesn't make you my father, and I sure as hell doesn't make me your son.
There's a school in Switzerland run by a retired general who knows far more than I do about boys and discipline. Try this again. That's where you'll be spending the next year. You really paid me for the fool.
Not hard to do.
Such a dick in the head.
Speaking of the fucking boys' school in Switzerland, when
No.
we spoiler alert for next week, we start up with Damien in some unspecified location that we later find is the Himalayas. Which, like, fine, whatever. But like, why couldn't it have been this fucking military school for boys in Switzerland or
Can you
whatever?
imagine if Damien was like, no, I choose the military school. I'm gonna test myself. Okay. You don't have to.
All
No,
right.
no, no. I got it. I could probably take him. I got it. Don't worry about it. Uh all right, moving on. We go into quiz time. Now this one,
Oh no.
not as easy. There's
Okay.
there's context clues I'm gonna give you if you need them. So in this movie, we see a flash forward of
Uh-huh.
what could be possibly Damien's future. He has a famous Batman costume that he wore, and very many future forwards that we see in the comics. The first time it appeared, what is the issue number that we saw Damien wear this bat costume?
God, fuck if I know. Uh, there's so few like comic issue numbers that I know off the top of my head. And like the two of them are like Red Hood and the Outlaw is like 25 or whatever, where he gets his throat slit, and
Oh
then
yeah.
Nightwing also either in the 20s or the 30s, where you have the roof scene with like a fucking tarantula or whatever.
Ugh, yeah, that's not a good one to remember, but
I only remember the trauma, okay?
yeah,
Um fuck. I
I
have
can.
no clue.
I will give you a context clue. So
Okay.
Damien makes a deal with
Uh-huh.
a certain entity to continue to take care of Gotham for his soul. So that might give you the issue number.
Man.
That entity is the devil from the Bible.
Oh. Is it 666?
Yes, it's Batman issue 666.
Oh, that's fucking brilliant. Oh, that's incredible.
Yes. It's Batman issue volume one,
The devil from the
the
Bible.
Bible. Yes, that's where you get Damien in his infamous Batman costume because he takes care of
Oh,
that.
that's
And also
amazing.
establishes that he banged Talia straight up. So That's the
Oof.
third panel as you see Damian as Batman. I know we talked about this with a previous guest host. I like Damian's trench coat Batman suit. I'm a big fan. I don't know why.
Mm-hmm.
I just like it.
I really love that he gets a hood for his cape in
Oh
this
yeah,
universe.
it just makes
Like,
it.
it's
He's like a
so
little
on
ninja.
brand.
He's a little ninja,
Uh-huh. Right, exactly.
little feral
And it
10-year-old
goes
ninja.
back to the problem I have with Talia about her not looking like a fucking ninja. Like,
I agree.
this is the clothes he's comfortable in. He loves his like style of clothing that he like grew up with like a long like tunic or whatever, and like that's how he modeled his Robin suit. I love that they all get to add their own personalizations to each iteration, but I feel like Damien's is the one that always feels the strongest rooted in his background.
Yeah, it does feel like very very cultural appropriate for who he is, what he's done, where he's come from. I we always talk about Talia and her costumes, and we need to talk about it last week or next week. But do you think like Raish and Damien like we're having breakfast and we just see her and like can you just put them away for today? Just just for like an hour. Like Bruce is not gonna randomly show up. Can you just put them away? You know what the Catwoman in Gotham does? She doesn't dress like that. Okay. You're Al Ghul, not a whore.
Uh-huh. Yeah, a little bit.
uh
For the record, it was 93, the Nightwing issue that I was thinking of. I was completely off.
I read that too.
Um,
I remember reading that. I was like
yeah.
a teenager, but like,
I have not.
huh, that is
I
not good.
I see it enough in the tags on AO3 Fix to know what the content I'm about to be getting myself into is, and I can choose to avoid it if I
That
need
one
to.
and for two of my favorite heroes have been assaulted, unfortunately, by powerful women in their lives. And it's like, why is this?
Uh,
It's like one of those like things like if I had a nickel for every time this happened, I'd have two nickels.
mhm.
Is that a lot? No, but it's weird that it's happened twice. And it
hmm
has.
Unfortunately, that is a great audio. But every time I do hear it, I do think of the fact that the voice of him tried to start a beef on the internet with people I know. Uh,
No shit.
because he was being anti-Semitic and people called him out on it. I'm pretty sure.
God damn it. You think you
hmm
know somebody?
But like, why are you
Come on, man.
starting beef with like 20-year-olds on the internet? Like,
They have nothing better to do. These fucking random ass people. How this is what they get. They go on their fucking toilet. They get on what they call X, and they were like, I'm
Mhm.
gonna say some racist shit. You know, and the other people who call it Twitter still were like, I'm trying to
Mhm.
connect with cool people and talk about video games or
Mhm.
whatever makes me happy. And it's like it's getting harder and harder to
Right.
do on this fucking app.
Mhm.
All right. All right, moving on, wrapping up. We got our final thoughts in homeroom. Sly, final thoughts on 2015's Batman versus Robin.
Final thoughts. This is a great film if you don't like or know Court of Owls stories. It's a bad adaptation, but a very solid film. On its own. If you ignore the fact that it's trying to tackle a really, you know, pivotal and important storyline. But like all that aside, like it is genuinely a really good watch. It's a good film. I think the Damien aspects explores a really interesting dynamic. We get badass Alfred. The talon that we do get is interesting and compelling,
Yeah.
even though it doesn't feel right or correct for his character at all. There were some great ideas here, and it resulted in a good film. It's just not a good adaptation.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. I think it was funny as we were talking, and I came up with the idea, because we've also watched Bad Blood, which is coming next week.
hmm
And the main antagonist in that, I was like, wow, you like it just popped in my head. I'm like, you could really set up most of the conflict with that one character instead of not
Yeah.
using the court properly. And that's something that we've seen with, like, there's so many good ideas, right before the New 52 and post New 52, that they're so good, but they're so modern that,
Mhm.
more DC adaptations just jump into them, right? Again, we have now, looking at the landscape of the Court of Owls, 4 adaptations of the Court of Owls. We have them in this, we have them in Gotham, we have them in Gotham Knights, the game, and Gotham Knights, the TV series. And that feels like a lot of adaptations for
A
something that is
lot.
fairly new in the lore that is Batman. And we've talked about this with Flashpoint. There are other Flash storylines, and Flashpoint has been done now 3 times post comic book. One to a really good avail, and the rest, you know, diminishing returns every time they touch upon the storyline. And it's it sucks because that storyline is really good. Court of Owls storyline is
Mhm.
very good. You know, I'm sure if we retrospectively go back and read those series, I'm sure we could pick apart certain things because we loved that thing so much. In hindsight, reading it so many years later, I'm sure we could pick apart so many things and be like, oh, this doesn't hit the same, or this was telegraphed too early, or, I mentioned earlier in this episode, it goes from, basically Batman in the movie Seven to then a full blown superhero thing, when he's fighting
Right.
his brother in, like, in March and all this other stuff. And it's like, it's all this big thing. It's like, all right, it comes down to physicals at the end. This could have been better, I think, if it wasn't an adaptation of Court of Owls. My hope is that, that doesn't take away from the viewing experience. I think you should watch it. I think it's a good movie. It's a very capable movie. Again, Stuart Allen, Jason O'Mara, and Sean Mayer kill it as this, like, close knit Bat family of, like, Nightwing, Damian, and Batman. And they all 3 of them feel very, very good in their roles. They feel like they're really coming into their own where we're at in the DC AMU. It's just, it just, hopefully you watch this and you are interested in even the slightest bit to be like, yeah, I kind of want to read about the Court of Owls. And then I implore you to
I
pick up
kind of
that
want to
volume.
watch the 2024 TV series Gotham Knights
try
with
try to
Misha
see,
Collins.
try to see if you can play the game again. See if you can get past.
God, I should
Yeah.
try. Hmm.
There are so many, th- I'll try to remember you or try to remind you, but, like, we should have links to, like, the volumes, or go to your local comic book shop, because again, we're not supporting, certain businesses in this time of
Hmm.
craziness. Or, books.com, I think is a newer website that's come up. You can check out your local
I like
library,
bookshop.org, or
bookshop.
Thrift Books is really good, or again, any like local used bookstore is gonna be your
Yeah.
friend, especially if you live in or near a like college town. Like, go to a used bookstore college area.
Dude,
You
I
can
actually
get
have
some
one right
incredible
around the corner
deals.
from me near my job. I work in a university in my
Hmm.
daytime job, and there's a really good one. They always have comic books. They always have comic
Yeah.
books out there. They're always featuring. Actually, this one was one of the featured ones. Funny enough, like about a year ago. Um, but yeah, this is definitely something I would recommend reading. If you watch this movie and you're like, I'm kind of interested, I implore you. It's so much better in the
Hmm.
books than it is here. But that doesn't take away from this movie is really good. It is a bad adaptation of the Court of Owls storyline. Um,
Yeah.
so moving on, we're gonna give you your homework, which is next week. Is Batman Bad Blood with a special guest Troy.
Yeah.
That's gonna be fun. Not to give anything away from that. It's a really fun episode. And then finally, go around the horn slide. Where can people find you?
You can find me online at CycloneMC, especially on TikTok. You can find me on Storygraph at just Cyclone. I've been trying to be better about logging all of my reading on there. The idea of getting Storygraph was to force myself to read all of my physical books that I have yet
Mm.
to read. That has not been successful. I am still reading primarily digitally. But yeah, I'm hopefully by the time this comes out, I'll be a couple weeks into a new TikTok series I'm doing where I'm gonna tell you all the books I want to read in a week, and then the next week tell you all the books that I did read, what I thought of them, and what the next week's goal will be. So go check that out on my TikTok. And then if you want to follow what I'm reading in real time, I'll be on Storygraph reviewing some things, sometimes just logging what I'm reading, whatever I feel like.
I gotta get Tara on that. She's definitely
Mhm.
interested in getting on that, especially after you mentioned it the first time. She's just she has so many things on her mind at any given time,
Yeah,
and then when it's not
valid.
time to do something, it's like boop, boop. Like I took
Real.
the kids up. She took the kids up to bed. And she's like, "I'm going to bed too." I was like, "That's a good idea." One of us could get sleep. But yeah, so I have to remind her because I know she did want to sign up for that. And she reads so many. All her books are very funny, but or
Mhm.
funny premises. But she does read real stuff every once in a while.
Are you
uh,
calling monster smut not real?
I mean, who knows? Who am I to say? Who am I to
That
say?
is literature.
I feel like what's Fee doing right now? Is she listening to fucking story or whatever, like smooth jazz or whatever she always does for like 85 hours. Uh
Mhm.
I'm talking so much shit, she's gonna bust through the door out of nowhere. Like, what the fuck? I heard you talking shit. Like, I'm sorry. Um, but it is what it is. But book wise, I'm not shaming you. Reading's good. Support your local library. Actually, my local library, right
Oh,
outside of Philly. I'm in Delaware County now. Walked in, all the new releases were a bunch of ones that I saw on TikTok that I think maybe Fee sent me,
nice.
and they are very,
Mhm.
smut versions of like Beauty and the Beast, where I think Belle, Beast, and Gaston are in a throuple, and very,
Interesting.
very lewd, very descriptive in his book, and all the loving goes around, all always. But I saw
I
that on
did
there.
just I finally got a new library card. When I moved to the city, I got a citywide library card, but I didn't get the county I moved into their library card, so I finally
Oh,
got my King County library card. So now I have one, two, three, four, five, six different library cards on my Libby app.
hell yeah, man! I got two fun, but there's the benefits of working at a university. I have one for
Mhm.
there, and all I had to do was log in with my
Nice.
employee ID. I have one for the city of Philadelphia because I had one, when I lived in city of Philadelphia. And I
Mhm.
need to get one here. The only issue is that we found like you can sign up digitally, that's fine, but they really want you to
Mhm.
stop in with your ID. Like the city of
Mm,
Philadelphia is like, I don't give a fuck. You can just sign up online. Who cares? Just give me a valid address. I'm like, all right, yeah, sure. We're like, we just want you to read. Can you read?
yeah.
Can you please do that? Also, Canopy, that's a good app, just in case of anybody reading out
Mm,
there. They have
okay.
uh you should check it out, Sly. So you sign up with it. It maybe it goes through the Libby app, I think, as well, and it will have all your. You just click on whatever library you want to use, and it's all
Yeah.
digital videos. So it could be movies, it could be
Oh.
like
Kind of like a hoopla.
yeah, yeah, very similar to that.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah, you can check that. That's a little PSA at the end of this episode. Support your
Mhm.
local libraries.
And
Check out Libby.
if your libraries do want you to have like valid ID or whatever, usually, at least for mine, it said you could stop in with your ID to like register your card or whatever,
Hmm.
or you could just email them. And I just took pictures of like the card that I got in the mail and like my ID or whatever together, and like proof of
I
address, and mailed it to them, and they were fine with that.
might have to check that out. I can totally
Yeah,
see Tara and
absolutely.
her like, oh, I want this, but I can see you're overseeing that. So that's funny. Yeah, but again, Canopy with a K, just for anybody out there.
Mhm.
Support
Okay.
your local libraries. Sign up for the Libby app too, so if you want the ebooks. The only thing that sucks if you're in a big city, and you want to say, I don't know, want to read one of the most popular mangas ever,
Uh-huh.
the guy has sold more books than J.K. Rowling, which is nice because he loves trans rights. She doesn't.
Uh-huh.
Um, it might suck. It might suck. It might be like a 12-week waiting period if you want to, read One
I
Piece.
might
But
have some other solutions if you wanna do I can hook you
send,
up.
send those over. Send those over because paying for Shonen Jump is $3, but it's still $3 I can use for something else. But before we close out the episode, I did forget to shout out my stuff. You can find me here, Point in Progress, youtube.com/Point in Progress, where we have this show, DC Graduates. Again, if you're watching the video content, go over to your favorite audio platform, like it, subscribe, 5-star it. If you're listening, do the same over at youtube.com/Point in Progress. Like, subscribe, hit the bell icon, comment down below, engage with the content so we can get that all helps the algorithm stuff. We're going to sign up for, now that we have 500, we're going to sign up to start getting paid the pennies that we need to support ourselves. And then for me, you can find me youtube.com/point of progress, of course, yes, /nerdaday. That should be ramping up soon, as I mentioned. I kind of want to get back to just like sudden breaks Microsoft wise. Let me sit down for 20 minutes and tell you, well, what I think about this possible new handheld, or things like that. And then we have On Point in Progress as well, coming soon. Quantum Break season finale should be up by the time this posts, and then season 3 I'm gonna start recording very soon. I'm taking like a little bit of a break playing other games before I jump into another Remedyverse game. And then that should be coming out. It would be called It's Not a Loop, It's Control. Obviously, from the title, you can tell I'm playing Remedy's smash hit Control and going through that game. So I'm really excited about that. But that's it for us. And class is dismissed.
Bye.